Welcome everyone to Danganronpa 2. Well, we're playing Danganronpa 2, but we're reading this and Danganronpa 2. But it's with the Danganronpa long cast. As I said, we're starting weekly uploads. Right now, Danganronpa 2. Until we finish playing everything I want to play in Danganronpa 2, we're gonna stay with Danganronpa 2 on Wednesday. So here we go. She looked confused, and Monokuma threw up his arms in frustration. You're so disappointing, I can't even predict it anymore! Arrgh! A threatening roar rushed from Monokuma's mouth. He let the Mukuro, his sharp claws extended. At that moment, her face became completely emotionless. It was not as a conscious action. The deep sense of instinct she honed during her childhood training years temporarily suppressed her emotions as she countered Monokuma's attacks. Mukuro grabbed a nearby IV stand and used it to parry Monokuma's claws. However, Monokuma's claws seemed to be made with special alloy and easily slashed the bar in half diagonally. Instead of falling out with his attack, Monokuma continued attacking Mukuro. I guess you're not much of a disappointment when it comes to fighting. In fact, I think we're so pathetic that you died for that single attack. That would have been interesting in his own way. Right now you just seem confident in everything. I'm sorry, said Mukuro. I couldn't help blocking your attack. But there's no way I can fight you, Junko. After all, I'm all you have. I'm the only one who understands you at all. Mukuro's words were riddled with endless dismay. Guess I'm doing a long episode. When we change scenery, we'll take a small break. The contrast between her usual stoic self and the way she was acting out so stark, people might assume she had multiple personalities. However, Monokuma just quietly stared at her. He was perfectly still as all his functions had powered down completely. But Mukuro continued to share her feelings. There's no way I can just leave you alone. And then Monokuma broke his silence, but at that moment, Monitor's office lit up, displaying a girl's pose, Junko and Ashima. This time, voice completely unlike Monokuma again to play from the speakers. Hey, Mukuro! Junko! It's been several days since Mukuro had heard her sister's real voice, though her face remained emotionless. Excitement sparkled in her eyes. However, that shine immediately dulled. I'm grateful to you, Mukuro. I mean it. Junko's voice, emitting from the speakers, sounded very gentle and kind. Junko? I'm really sorry. I said so many mean things to you. I even tried to kill you earlier. And I was just to make you do something horrible just now. Even though I know about your feelings towards Makoto. You don't have to force yourself. Even if you didn't notice, it was totally obvious to anyone looking at you. You never cared about the class photos, but when Makoto said he was going to take one, you made sure you were facing the camera. And then Junko and Ashima, the ultimate despair, flashed a smile, a pure sweet smile. On a monitor, she looked like a normal high school girl teasing her older sister. And yet Mukuro could feel despair and anxiety encasing themselves around her. I always thought you should have tried harder to take pictures with Makoto. I guess that what makes you so disappointing. Still, even though you're disappointing and annoying, I still love you. Mukuro trembled upon hearing those words. I love you? That's all she ever wanted her sister to say. Mukuro believed. No matter what Junko said, she believed she really loved her. She believed she was the only one who could truly understand the despair known as Junko and Ashima. She was naive. As soon as she heard Junko say I love you, Mukuro realized she never completely understood her sister. It was only at this moment that Mukuro finally understood her sister's feelings. Junko's words right now were kind. Perhaps that kindness was completely honest. The words I love you might have been true as well. However, for Junko and Ashima, this was her way of saying goodbye. She was severing the ties between them. It was painfully clear to Mukuro. And then, before she could even say anything, the girl in the monitor made a remark that cut Mukuro to the bone. I'm sure someday you'll make your dreams come true. Ultimate despair has never talked to each other like this. A simple truth stabbed into Mukuro's heart. Junko had no further use for her. Her own sister was parting ways with her. Mikuro had dedicated over 10 years of her life to the case of ultimate despair, and at this moment, it all counted for nothing. But those years no longer mattered to Mikuro. Her sister's rejection was more than enough to send her into depths of despair. That's why Mikuro, even now, clung to a small sliver of hope. Meanwhile, Junko was still on the monitor. Meanwhile, yeah, right. Did you really think I'll say something so nice? Yeah, totally. We totally, oh my lord. We totally believed you, Junko. We totally do. You're so annoying. Can you just hurry up and disappear already? Mikuro hoped Junko would say something like that. She hoped that she'd start verbally abusing her again, or call her useless and incompetent. Mikuro was still max. Okay. Mikuro was no masochist, or she preferred to be showered with bullets and contempt and endure this kind of emotional pain. But I love you, Mikuro. Bye-bye! The monitor went black, leaving Mikuro to process the horrible goodbye she just received. And it's on cue, Monokuma started moving again. Isn't finally loud? So nice! By the way, did you know that in half of all murder cases, the killer is a family member? Probably. Monokuma spoke in his usual tone of voice, but it was unclear if his words were getting through to Mikuro. Mikuro let the blood pack in her hand fall to the floor, tightening her grip on the iron bar she was still holding. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Junko, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. She mumbled quietly as she were chanting the spell and walked past the blood pack on the floor to Makoto's bedside with the iron bar in her hands. I'll do it properly. I'll make sure I do it. So. Ow! Said Monokuma breaking up? What's she gonna do properly to Makoto with that big, thick rod you got there? Are you gonna do him? Are you gonna do him? Either way, it's gonna feel no heartwarming excitement! Mikuro looked like she'd been completely broken. Monokuma walked closer to her with eager anticipation. Suddenly, Monokuma's body silently floated into the air. Huh? With an expression on his face, Monokuma tried to see what just happened to him. In the blink of an eye, an iron bar ripped through his body. Oh, Mikuro! The tip of the bar, which had been cut diagonally earlier into a sharp cut, straight through Monokuma and tapped into a surveillance camera. The lens was completely destroyed and the camera shot out sparks as it broke down. Iron bar was still stabbing the surveillance camera as Monokuma dangled from the other end. Opened his mouth to say something, but only static came out. A few seconds later, his function came to a complete stop. Without making a sound at all, Mikuro takes Monokuma into the air. As soon as Monokuma's power source had been bomb-structured, perfectly in line with the surveillance camera in the nurse's office, Mikuro plunged the iron bar into all three of them. No normal human has the skill to utilize such a technique, not even an ultra. All the hesitation within Mikuro had vanished. Her eyes sparkled like a panther stalking its prey at night. Tense aura surrounded Mikuro, even more so than when she fought Sakura earlier. And the Monokuma's legs was born. She looked at Makoto as she breathing softly and remembered her sister's parting words. So this is despair, she mumbled to herself. I'm so sorry, Junko. I never really understood what despair was. She spoke without emotion, like a machine. But it's gonna be alright now. I finally understand. You know, within her, passions began to stir. So, I'll make sure I make you happy, Junko. I'll make sure I fill you with despair. I'll save Makoto. I'll make sure the others don't die. I'll let them escape from this place. I'll deal with the people on the outside too. You invested so much time and killed so many people for the sake of this plan. And I'll destroy every last remnant of it for you. This was not an act of vengeance toward the sister who had abandoned her. This was an act of mercy. She stepped between the ultimate despair and hope she gained from Makoto. Mikuro has been refined into something that was unlike despair or hope, and she had no way of knowing what her plan would be. time for a little break. Over 10 minutes have passed. The sound of students leaving the gym and making their way to the nurse's office rang throughout the hall. Suicide Jack had continued to dodge Sakura's attack of her tricky movements. When Byakuya blurted out, "Enough already, you irritating pervert," Suicide Jack stopped in her tracks. Oh my. Getting chewed out by spectacle, Byakuya is making my matches instead. Oh, get all tingly! To say the line. Between statements and messages that was paper thin, but in my case, it's really a Venn diagram. Words cannot describe these soft waves of passion squirming from the top of my head to the tips of my toes. As she rambled incoherently about Byakuya, the other students tied her up with a microphone cable from the gym and locked her in her room. Half the students stayed behind to keep an eye on her, while the rest had to search the grounds of the school. And another break. It was so fast. As soon as the door to the nurse's office opened, Kyoko saw a non-functioning Monokuma with a hole in its chest and the remains of a surveillance camera. And it wasn't just in the nurse's office, though. On their way there, the students have been seeing several destroyed surveillance cameras. And that is a word I will never and won't be able to say. Cameras and scattered Monokuma bodies. This was a clear violation of school regulations, but if Mukuro was allied with Monokuma, those regulations wouldn't apply to her anyway. The Monokuma in Center Gym was no longer moving, and the students have lost contact with the hacker. Bashiki Madurai. But so, the students assumed that Madurai had taken control of a different Monokuma and went after Mukuro on his own. With that in mind, Kyoko turned and looked inside the nurse's office once again. It was unusually quiet. The beds were empty, but Kyoko... Oh, Mukuro took Makoto! Oh! The beds were empty, but Kyoko could see from the bloodstain that someone had been resting there recently. Look like they're already gone, Mondo remarked, but he was about to leave. Kyoko spoke up behind him. I'm gonna stay here and with Chihiro and search for clues. Huh? Asked Chihiro, her eyes timid widening. Clues? Kyoko continued to speak in a calm tone of voice. Yes, there may be some clues in these Monokuma remains. I figured you would be the best candidate for investigating machinery. Sakura spoke up, but isn't that dangerous? Since Sakura could clearly hold her own in a fight with Mukuro, she had joined the other students in searching the school grounds. Kyoko shook her head and replied, I'm sorry to say this, but if things get out of hand, Chihiro and I will just be in your way. I think it's better if we search for clues here instead of doing nothing. Besides, we might be able to use Monokuma's parts to detect any radio broadcasts from the outside world. You certainly have a point. Understood. We'll be exploring this floor for a while. Please shout it for us if anything happens. Sakura left the nurse's office. How did she destroy Monokuma like this? As Chihiro cautiously stood over Monokuma's remains, Kyoko started searching throughout the room. She zeroed in on one of the beds and began studying it intensely. A moment later, Kyoko was satisfied with what she found and let a small sigh before she spoke. Chihiro, let me apologize to you in advance. Huh? I dragged you into this gamble of mine, so if anything happens, run out into the hallway and call for help. What does that mean? But instead of answering Chihiro's question, Kyoko started talking to one of the empty beds. Let me say this first. I'm prepared to hear your story. No matter how ridiculous it may sound, I promise to tell if it's a lie or the truth. I tell after I listen to it in its entirety. Chihiro was confused. She didn't sound like Kyoko meant at all. The ultimate question mark, lowered her eyes and turned into the ultimate programmer to make questions. Chihiro, does your laptop have a voice recording function, and do you also have a microphone? Yeah. I want you to use that to record everything we're about to hear. But there's no one here. As Chihiro wondered to herself, she began connecting Monokuma's parts to her laptop and turned on the record function. I'm sure we'll pick up every sound in this room now, said Chihiro nervously. Satisfied, Kyoko stood and once again started talking to the empty bed. So, what were you guys going to do if I told everyone that I found the code? When she heard Kyoko say that, Chihiro looked back at her and was surprised by what she saw. In a moment, the ultimate programmer was kneeling on the floor next to Monokuma's remains. Without position, she was able to see it. Of all the beds in the nurse's office, there was one bed in particular that couldn't have been seen from the entrance. Underneath the bed lay a limp Makoto. Oh, Makoto was still here! A black hat was hidden next to the bed and slowly providing Makoto with transfusion. Contents of the blood pack were clear. Rather than blood, it seemed to be some kind of saline solution used in emergency hydration. Though it wouldn't be as effective as an actual blood transfusion, it was enough to keep him from going to shock. Though that's the extent of Chihiro's medical knowledge. She was already surprised that Makoto has been in the nurse's office this whole time. Not only that, but Kyoko wasn't talking to the bed that Makoto was under, which sent chills throughout Chihiro's body. However, there was nobody under the bed that Kyoko was facing. But the moment Chihiro noticed that, a voice rang out from under it. As soon as everyone's attention was focused on Makoto, I was planning to take advantage of the opportunity to take someone hostage. As Chihiro cautiously lowered her head until it was nearly touching the floor, she was able to make out who was talking. Surprisingly, the person hiding there was clinging to the frame of the bed, like a ninja clinging to the ceiling. Presumably, someone has glanced under the bed quickly they wouldn't notice anyone was there. Though Chihiro had no idea how the person was able to hide under the bed for so long, she could at least understand that their strength was beyond normal human levels. There was no question that the person hiding under the bed was Mukuro Igasaba. But you pretended not to notice. Why? Mikuro's voice was as cold as ice, but Kyoko didn't even flinch as she responded. Because I wanted to hear your side of the story. I knew you were hiding under the bed. Compared to the others, the frame was slightly more pronounced. Hiro tried comparing the bed to see if this was true, but she couldn't tell the difference at all. Only Kyoko's natural observation skills could let her see something like that. Mikuro seemed to come to a similar conclusion and appeared from under the bed without making a sound. Her face was stoic and cold. Compared to the bomb inside Monokuma, Jiro thought she was even more terrifying. However, Mikuro ignored Hiro and shifted her gaze at Kyoko. She leaned against the wall and let her fall to her side as she threw out another question. Why do you want to hear what I have to say? Kyoko thought about the simple question for a while, as if she was searching within her own heart for the answer. If I had to provide an answer, it's because I wish to remain neutral. Kyoko quietly looked down. I'm certainly missing most of my memories. I don't know who I am or what talent I have to be accepted into the school. She could hear Chiro gasp behind her, but Kyoko didn't mind and continued. But even so, I believe I should listen to what you have to say. Regardless whether you're good or evil, I must hear all the facts in order to know the truth. Good and evil don't matter. I come to a conclusion based on what I see and hear. I think that's the methodology that's been instilled into me. I see. I completely forgot you were like that, Kyoko. But before I listen to what you have to say, I'd like to ask you one question first. What is it? Mikuro's reply was completely emotionless. Kyoko presented her question as if she was asking it herself as well. What was my talent that allowed me to attend this academy? The answer to the question was simple. Kyoko, you're the ultimate detective. That answer marked a turning point for both girls. Thank you. I have a better understanding of the situation now. Kyoko slowly raised her head and presented a theory. If my memory loss wasn't just a coincidence, then your group, has the ability to erase people's memories. With that in mind, if we take into consideration the situation that unfolded in the gym earlier, I can only come to one possibility. Possibility? Yes. When you said to Byakuya, he thought you were taking Toko hostage. You claimed that they met 2 years ago. It's possible that might actually be true. The fact that Makoto called up Mikuro's name, the things that Mikuro confirmed and denied, just like Jack outlandish claims, those key factors that Kyoko noted using her special observation skills were converging in her mind to form one answer. It's possible that Byakuya and Toko's memories were also erased like mine, but I don't think their circumstances are quite the same as mine. But if our memories can be controlled so freely, it calls into question whether the day Monokuma appeared was really the same day we entered the academy. Like you said, it's possible that we've known Toko Fukawa for the last 2 years. What do you mean? What do you mean? Chihiro cried, slow working connecting her laptop to Monokuma's parts. Kyoko continued to speaking to both Chihiro and Mokura. We thought we were knocked unconscious with the sleeping gas the moment we arrived at the school. But it's possible that we are simply made to think that's what happened. For example, we may have actually spent the last 2 years at Hope Peak Academy, and our memories of that time were completely erased. It's even possible that we weren't even ultimates at all, just random people who've been implanted with 16 years worth of false memories. Though Kyoko's claim sounds ridiculous, her face was completely serious. She looked at Mukuro once again. Which means I'm considering that possibility that your crazy story is actually the truth. Kyoko's declaration filled the room with silence, but she didn't let that silence overwhelm her. Kyoko cut through it with her own words. Not evidence. All I can do is make hypotheses. That's why I want to hear what you have to say, Mukuro. Have no intention of blindly believing what you're going to say, or what that self-proclaimed hacker who took over Monokuma said. She paused and lowered her eyes again, then declared with powerful determination. Even so, I tend to come to a conclusion as fairly and objective as I can. But I can only do that if you trust me and tell me the truth. Kyoko's conviction was clear from her voice. Mikuro's eyes narrowed slightly, and a tapestry of emotion flashed across her face as she looked towards Kyoko. When she opened her mouth, her expression and voice were completely devoid of emotion. That's right, I completely forgot you were like that. Meguro repeated this to herself, softly then faced Kyoko and declared, That must be why Junko took care to erase more of your memories compared to the others. Very well, I'll tell you everything. And after Meguro placed Makoto back onto the bed, she began to manically tell a story. Story of a girl who wanted to fill the world with despair. A girl who only truly felt happy when she was filled with despair herself. A plan for despair that began 2 years ago, or perhaps even earlier than that. How the world was currently ruled by despair itself. Meguro provided a brief summary of everything she knew about the plan. That's why it sounded even more outrageous than Kyoko expected, and so, her story, Kyoko was able to learn the truth about herself. Who she was and why she came to the academy. The fate of the academy's real headmaster, Kyoko's father. As she listened to Meguro's story, Kyoko remained silent the whole time. Her face looked blank when she learned her father had died. Perhaps her memory loss and the absurdity of the situation helped lessen the impact somewhat. But there was no guarantee Kyoko would ever believe her story. After Meguro finished speaking, Kyoko stayed silent. With her unrivaled mental prowess, she was able to listen to Meguro's story without interrupting her or dismissing it as nonsense. Meguro continued, You don't have to believe me. After all, pictures that could prove my story are with Junko. And all I can do is talk. After she said that, Meguro suddenly walked toward the entrance to the nurse's office. When she arrived at the door, she spoke without looking back. But even if you don't believe me, you still listen to everything I have to say. So, Kyoko, Chihiro, thank you. After apologizing in such a tone of voice, she turned to the bed where Makoto lay breathing weakly. Make sure Makoto stays rested. When he wakes up, make sure you give him some sports drink from the dining hall or supply room to drink. Please. Of course, bud. What are you gonna do now? Meguro straightened herself up. Despair. I need to make Junko feel despair. Meguro continued mumbling to herself as she opened the door. There's nothing else I can do. No, there is something you can do. Meguro stopped walking as Kyoko spoke firmly. Regardless of whether Monokuma is really Junko Onishima or Bashiki Madurai, if you're dealing with him, he won't be able to lay a finger on Makoto. I don't fully trust you, but if you're really concerned for Makoto's life, I'm willing to work with you. Unlike Mashiki, who's probably abandoned him already. Right. I'm sorry. I don't really work well with others. Meguro looked away, then bowed her head as she left the nurse's office. But, I do my best. The door's closed and Meguro's gone. I'm sorry for involving you in something so dangerous, Chihiro. As she continued to organize the vast amount of information that Meguro gave her, Kyoko turned to Chihiro, who was still working on Monokuma. As she trembled with fear, Chihiro slowly looked back at Kyoko. Kyoko, tell what Meguro said just now. Chihiro's face turned pale as she struggled with her words, and Kyoko tried to calm her down. We can't determine that anything she told us was true or not. There's no need to be afraid. But Chihiro shook her head and returned to looking at her laptop. I think she's telling the truth. What are you basing that on? Well, it looks like Monokuma is really being controlled from the outside. Parts of Monokuma's system has been connected to Chihiro's laptop, and she was analyzing the data within its control system, and it was that the ultimate programmer noticed something unusual about it. This control program. I thought it would be another year before the system became fully operational. Chihiro started trembling so much that she was unable to continue speaking. I can't confirm that, said Kyoko, proposing another possibility to avoid jumping to conclusions. It's possible that a similar program was being developed in secret. But Chihiro only shook her head and said, No, that's not it. It just looks really familiar to me. Kyoko looked over Chihiro's trembling shoulders to peer at the screen. That's when she noticed this program. Chihiro, did you create this? All the ultimate programmer can do is not weekly. And a little break, because I want to get some drink in my lungs. Mikuro comes first floor. Oops. Mikuro continued moving forward, fortunate enough to not encounter Sakura and Wanda. Without interference from anyone, she made her way to the hall as large as gym and stood before the sealed main entrance. Suddenly, Monokuma appeared, popped out from the shadows to block her path. Within this hall, this resembled a nuclear bomb shelter, replete of all manner of heavy weaponry. Monokuma's silhouette was conspicuously out of place here. Laughter rang throughout the room as she wiggled his body from side to side. What were you doing at the nurse's office? Did you eliminate your rival of Makoto's faction? Or did you help play matchmaker instead? Anyway, don't think it's kind of adorable to put Kyoko and Makoto in this kind of situation together. If this were a suspense film, these two would be the last couple standing. And if it was a horror film, no doubt anyway. The killer was live all along. Black goes to blood, pop goes to meat. I'm a big fan of endings where the characters think they're gonna live, but they're really headed to a final destination. Wait, what the hell is a destination? What does that even mean? Monokuma didn't explain. Meguro remained unperturbed. She continued to stare ice daggers at Monokuma as if she was waiting for him to finish speaking. Well, anyways, I know. Our regulation-breaking delinquents is driving the harmony of this peaceful academy. I can't even keep Lavison for running with me. Time to say goodbye to your incompetent headmaster. I'm gonna use Monokuma's evolution to become a big, magnum headmaster able to do decent students. As soon as he said that, Monokuma extended his claw and waddled towards Mukuro. So, if I'm gonna mold you, then I'm gonna kill you first. But as he finished speaking, Monokuma suddenly hurt a Mukuro like he spiked volleyball. The Mukuro was faster and dodged Monokuma's attack. She jumped up, keeping her distance from Monokuma just in case his claws could have done anything longer. His kind of Charlie finger appeared next to her. Mukuro twisted her body to its limits and just narrowly evaded the figure's attacks. When she landed on the floor, she immediately thought, "Oh, so what does the immortal killer want anyway? I can tell the others and escape with them, even though you know what the outside world's like right now." Two Monokumas were speaking to Mukuro in unison. Honestly, I don't mind if you do that. I can just imagine the look at everyone's face when they discovered the truth. This is our throbbing excitement. The two Monokumas continued to speak in stereo sounds. You said you'd start a plan, but there's no happy ending waiting for you, no matter which route you take. And you only have yourself to blame. Don't tell me you thought that'd be grateful to you. Even if you guys achieve your do you think they'll still forgive you when they get a whiff of that nasty air outside? Some of them might prefer to stay in school. Some of them might resent you for being kind and showing them the truth. And then again, this is your fault anyway, so it doesn't really matter what you think of you. Monokuma made a little mistake. Despite facing down two Monokumas, Mukuro's expression did not waver. They understood that controlling two Monokumas simultaneously was a piece of cake for Junko. Mukuro drew an arm-like metal bar from seemingly nowhere and readied himself. As the remnants of the IV stamp from the nurse's office sharpened to a pointed weapon. With a weapon in hand, Mukuro responded in a cold and panicked tone. That's fine. I'm already used to that. None of the fear she felt when Monokuma suggested that Mukuro would blame her appeared on her face. Her path was good to her now, and she calmly issued her demand to Monokuma. Junko, open the gates. Shocked at such a straightforward demand left both Monokuma emotionally speechless, but seemed to replied, "Why? So we can all leave together?" In a straightforward answer, both Monokumas faced each other and began gesturing as if they were whispering to one another. Mukuro knew their movements were intended to mock her. Unmoved, she continued to speak to Junko directly. "I think they understand how to show them the outside world." And then they stopped doubting Mukuro. "At least find new ways to disappoint me, Mukuro. Did you forget why the school has an air filtration system? It's true that the air outside is polluted, but I don't think it'll kill us immediately. Besides, it's better than being trapped in school and forced to kill each other. How can you be sure the others will go with along with you? You know what I mean, right? Before the formal headmaster got turned into space dust, you interviewed the others, and they all agreed that they wanted to stay in the school. That was before the memories have ever been erased. You really want to betray their wishes? The girl blinked and slowly stepped forward. I don't really care about their feelings. Huh? You're all I need, Junko. So don't worry. I'm always watching out for you. I'm gonna make sure you feel despair, and I'm gonna make Bakata and the others happy. And if you want to rebel and you're on the spirit that badly, then I'll trust the hope Makoto gave me and take my chances with them instead of you. Mukuro's belief but powered words caused the Monokumas to turn and talk to each other. Oh my, this doesn't look good at all, Monokuma. Just tell there's a real wish or all about apostasy. She's so disappointed that she's starting to reach critical mass, right, Monokuma B? Two Monokumas come Mukuro, who seemed ready to destroy them, and said, "What do you think, Monokuma C?" Mukuro was taken back by their question, but her instincts only kicked in and immediately dodged away. At that moment, a third Monokuma, claws extended, passed by where her head had been previously. This new Monokuma unit landed with several spins and faced Mukuro, who clung to the remnants of severe skin until attached to the ceiling. I agree with you all there, B. The three Monokumas landed down to cell bus. The student classes at the academy, this battle would have been akin to a nightmare. Right on! Oh, I get it. They like the quotes are each Monokuma, and they're saying at the same time, forever! The three units began speaking in perfect harmony as their six eyes landed with them and Mukuro. Suddenly, they each jumped in three separate directions to take off some of the walls. Classes reviewed and triangular attacks all converged on a single spot, Mukuro still clinging to the ceiling. She was surrounded by razor-sharp claws coming at her from different directions. But this situation wasn't even a nightmare to Mukuro. First time she fended off assassins who'd been raiding her camp one night when she was a member of Fenrir. This is nothing. This stopped crashing for a fun. She dangled from the ceiling with one hand and dashed her lens around like a tornado. Intercepted by the Monokumas fell to the floor with a loud crash. The girl landed down and chased after one of them, burnishing her metal bar. Suddenly, she saw movement of a huge creeper. One of Monokumas exploded with a deafening roar. He detonated the bomb inside of himself in an attempt to take Mukuro down with him. But thanks to her home battlefield skills, Mukuro managed to avoid the explosion. She looked toward the hallway, expecting an explosion to have attracted the attention of Sakura and the others. But she didn't hear any footsteps approaching. Monokuma's voice rang from within the dense smoke. You don't have to worry. I told the others to assemble in the cafeteria. They're eager to follow my orders. I told them that sergeants and police and gas and a special police unit was coming to get them. Pretty sure Kyoko and the others are all in the cafeteria by now. Sure Makoto's with them too. I thought Sakura would get too drunk with him, but I'm sure Byakuya would sure Makoto once he wakes up. I can imagine him rubbing salt, pulling soy sauce into his open wound. I'm getting all kind of bothered right now. Ow! As she listened to Monokuma's overlapping voices, Mukuro told her Leona, I'm pretty sure you're gonna find out that you lied about that special police unit. Are you really okay with that? No worries. Once we get with you, I don't care at all if you find I was lying. You still don't get it? You're such a disappointment. It's solely down on Mukuro. Not the reason why Monokuma didn't care of the sins when she lied, rather that the voice of the Monokumas in the smoke were gradually increasing in number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh Lord. As the monster cleared, shouts of 3 Monokumas appeared. The one so exploded could not revive, so a new one must have come to take its place. But there's no way Mukuro only heard 3 voices Monokumas just talking just now. If the prover unit has been accurate, the Monokumas only made their move. 3 Monokumas bent over and began swirling their upper bodies. From behind them, new Monokumas emerged like after image brought to life. The new row of Monokumas mimicked the earlier ones with only 1 frame of delay, revealing even more Monokumas behind them. Eventually, Mukuro realized that there was Oh, there's 30 of them. Oh. Eventually, Mukuro realized that there were 3 rows containing 10 Monokumas each. Oh. You know, this is called a circle dance. Monokuma's 30 voices spoke in perfect harmony as they divulged information that had nothing to do with the current situation. Mukuro already knew that multiple Monokumas were positioned throughout the academy. But only Junko knew how many Monokumas actually existed. Mukuro had no way of knowing if these 30 Monokumas were part of a larger continent. The fact that 2-ton teddy bears descending forward, Mukuro felt like she was being bombarded with hypnotic images. But faced with this abnormal sight, the ultimate soldier remained calm and maintained her focus. She was exactly like the girl who panicked in the gym when Makoto was impaled. When she stood before her 30 emissaries of despair, she slowed her breathing and allowed her heart rate to accelerate. It was instinct, not fear or panic, that sent her blood racing through her body, speeding up the reaction time of her senses. As her senses sharpened, the Monokumas came speaking to her. Don't worry, let me sure Makoto doesn't die. I thought I could lose that. She'll be stuck with my main Christmas time day one. Oh, that's right, all your effort, hope, dreams, and determination are gonna right in the garbage heap. The Monokumas took turns speaking in groups of 10. As the headmaster controlling the Monokumas wanted to show off her ability to manipulate them, however, the ultimate soldier knew what the true purpose behind all this was. She strained her ears to their limit and noticed a certain sound hidden among the Monokuma voices. The girl's face ran perfectly still as she kicked off the floor. The moment she moved to the side, a roaring sound shook the intercom. The steel-mounted turrets in front of the gate started raining bullets down on Mukuro. Monokuma used to mastermind decoy while she tried to blow her away. As if further happened her, the Monokumas charged up Mukuro from the center of the floor. Mukuro guessed that the mastermind programmed the movements in advance so they wouldn't get hit by a single bullet. Grand for the gates fade away to bullets and slapped every step of the way. Programming 30 Monokuma, I almost did 300. Programming 30 Monokumas and 2 turrets while also protecting Makuro's scarecrow. Nothing considered possible for anyone, but Mukuro knew it was possible for Junko. As ultimate despair, she possessed despair-inducing abilities that surpassed the capabilities of any normal human. To display powers, only filling Mukuro with despair. The scene played out in front of Mukuro was ringing with despair. The adorably dead Monokumas laughed and danced like reapers as bullet whizzed through the air. It was despair to the point of absurdity, and it was all for Mukuro. When the presence of such despair, Mukuro felt a strange serenity. For me? Junko's doing all this for me? Junko, are you watching me right now? In the end, perhaps Mukuro really was a disappointment. She clenched her fist. Junko, thank you. Sound of gunfire overshot her whisper, and Mukuro fell completely silent. As a member of Ultimate Despair, Mukuro's heart was full of joy. Though she was filled with emotion, her eyes had lost their sparkle. Silence filled the air. Even the gunfire from the turret seemed to stop for a moment. But that was only an illusion of the one controlling Monokuma. Something strong enough to silence gunfire and avoid being picked by the sensor spread throughout the school from Mukuro at the center. I'll make sure I do this right. With that final thought, she closed her mouth and turned off her emotions. As she ran through the waves of scorching bullets, the air around her began to grow colder. As this coolness burned to her heart, it began to beat in a mechanical fashion. Several seconds later, Mukuro's body and mind melded together and became one with her surroundings. Her temperature now dominating the battlefield. Despair, bullets, and Monokumas filled the air. Mukuro predicted their movements and jumped into the air without any hesitation. One of the Monokumas jumped at her and she avoided his attack, kicked his body, and launched herself into midair. Bullets pierced through the space Mukuro was previously occupied and striking the falling Monokuma right into his infernal bomb. The impact of the bullet caused it to explode, sending far away Monokuma parts everywhere. As she broke the glass wave, Mukuro balanced herself in midair to kick away 2-3 Monokumas that leapt at her. She moved so gracefully she was practically flying. In contrast, the Monokumas threw themselves into the path of oncoming bullets, throwing another one after the other. Some of them exploded near the main entrance. but their blast didn't even leave a scratch. With full control over the engine call, Mukuro evaded bullets and confirmed that the bombs inside Monokuma were enough to destroy the door. But she refused to stop. Mukuro needed to get information on what she must do to escape the academy. She had no desire to kill Junko. Mukuro wanted to kill Junko with the spirit by instilling hope into the future of Makoto and the other students. That's Mukuro's ultimate goal. Get information. In contrast to her determination, her mouth stayed shut. But this did not mean Mukuro is not currently speaking to Junko. The situation, this battle of death and destruction, was a conversation of sorts for Mukuro. All she knew how to do was fight. Thus she wasn't interested in anything else. She thought she didn't need anything else. All Mukuro needed was the sword to fulfill her sister's desire for despair. That purpose alone was the crux of her existence, and she lived her entire life convincing herself that she couldn't do anything else. That's why power was like a language to Mukuro. A battle to the death revealed enough about her heart than mere winds ever could. Our hearts were in the wind of savagery that blows past the battlefield, uprooting others who had spoke the language of violence. That was true even against her sister. When Junko would betrayed her sister, Mukuro couldn't talk back. All she could do was cower and apologize profusely. But it's different now. For the first time, Junko was using language her sister actually recognized. The child of despair who tore the world apart was speaking to her sister with the language of power. Mukuro's heart filled with joy. For that reason, she turned her focus on her conversation with Junko, and that motion began to gradually disappear. On the frigid battlefield, Mukuro continued her heated conversation. Endless rounds of despair fired from the school's turret. But Mukuro's words intercepted every last violent shot that started to shatter her body and mind in half. She quickly realized that the Monokumas hadn't depleted the number at all, no matter how many she kept destroying. Not only that, she noticed that more Monokumas had been joining the fray until there was nearly 50 of them for Mukuro to fight. When Mukuro's dog wouldn't break so easily. As she continued to wield her power, her heart began to fill with something that's neither hope or despair. She learned despair from being abandoned by Junko. No.
Some of them will share very big flirt.
Why?
His dad passed away like the other day
Oh.
from COVID.
Oh.
So, Jackie was letting me know.
Oh. Okay. Love you.
Love you. Okay, well, I have to run out with Dad. I'd rather stay home, but I have to run out.
Okay. Love you. I know. Willpower. Heart begins to fill something that's near hope of it. Learn despair from being abandoned. For Mukuro, who had no interest in this world, this small space in front of the gate was a reflection of her life, a representation of her perfect world. This disappearing girl, full of endless disappointment, who knew no other way to live, and your lonely dance. She surrendered herself to the rhythm of despair, which accompanied the music of hope. Computer room, interest, Monokuma room. How much time has passed? Surveillance cameras at the gates were capturing footage of countless Monokumas falling in the hands of a child who felt like a raging demon. The Monokumas bolstered their numbers, and now 100 of them were trying to sink their claws into Mukuro. Most of them were running on autopilot, reacting to her movements based on prior information they have received in advance. Despite standing behind hundreds of mechanical adversaries, Mukuro's face showed no fear. She hadn't sustained a single injury, giving her a presence that was nearly as fine to behold, though Sakura Ogami was powerful enough to injure her arm. Mukuro in her current state could potentially fight Sakura to a draw neck without relying on firearms. And this is just where we're going to end! And I hope you keep enjoying the series, as I think we're almost done, but I'm not sure. And we'll see you all next time! Bye!